Welcome to English Through History. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe or leave us a review. It helps us to create more content and shows us we're moving in the right direction. We hope you enjoy the episode today. In today's episode, we will be concluding our two-part topic into Philip of Macedon. We left part one with Philip as de facto leader of the Hellenic world, Macedonia at the height of its power, and the Macedonian military unstoppable in battle. His son, Alexander, is becoming renowned in his own right as a military leader and will go on to forge his own legacy in the future. Today we'll be looking at the cultural and societal changes that Philip implemented and how they affected the Greek world. Finally, we'll look into his death and his legacy. Philip was aware of the geographical and political disadvantage of Macedonia. He sought to further integrate the country into a unified and coherent ruling state. He was very aware that military power was not enough to guarantee stability and peace for the region and acceptance of his role as de facto leader. He used marriage as a form of diplomacy, having several wives that helped him form political alliances and partnerships. He ruled as a type of early monarch, having absolute power, but allowing others to flourish under him. But as well as this, he focused on several key reforms to the country, and after his death, his son Alexander continued a lot of this work. Philip especially focused on integrating the military into leadership and decision-making roles in wider Macedonian society. Amongst others, he focused on a few main aspects. The first of these was the creation of a royal court. So Philip established a sophisticated and refined royal court inspired by the Greek courts of his time. The court became a center of cultural patronage and intellectual discourse. It attracted scholars, poets, and philosophers and fostered a climate of intellectual exchange and cultural refinement. The divisions of power in the royal court are not made completely clear in the source material, although we do see evidence for several distinct sections. The first of these are the royal pages, and these were youths that were brought into the court and trained in diplomacy and court administration. They were seen to be essential to the running of the court's administrative processes in the future, and the role was seen as secure for its participants, guaranteeing minor status and job security. The second of these divisions are the bodyguards. These were men drawn from the Macedonian nobility that acted as military leaders, advisors, and commanders. They were often only a limited number of these, but they were seen as men of great esteem and military prowess. Unlike other definitions of the word, they were not responsible for the protection of the king's life. The third of these are the companions, and these were part of the elite cavalry and infantry created under Philip and expanded later under Alexander. They served as advisors, and they had great status in the Macedonian court. They were able to speak freely to the king, and their opinions carried great weight. Finally, we're going to look at the friends. These were often advisors that served as magistrates and lawmakers, seen as people of good status who could be fair and equal in dispensing justice. As well as the royal court, Philip also focused on syncretism and cultural exchange. So Philip's reign witnessed a period of cultural exchange and syncretism where Macedonian traditions blended with Greek, Persian, and other influences. The expansion of Macedonian power brought them into contact with various cultures, and Philip encouraged the integration of these diverse elements. This syncretism is evident in the art, the architecture, and the cultural practices of the time. As well as this, under Philip's rule, Macedon underwent the process of Hellenization, the adoption and the embracing of Greek culture and traditions. Philip recognized the cultural and intellectual influence of the Greeks and sought to integrate Macedon into the wider Hellenistic world. He encouraged the adoption of the Greek language, literature, philosophy, and artistic styles. This effectively aligned Macedon with the broader Greek cultural sphere. Philip of Macedon met his untimely death in 336 BC. The exact circumstances surrounding his assassination remain the subject of historical debate. Philip's demise occurred during a festive event, a wedding celebration between his daughter Cleopatra and Alexander of Epirus in the city of Aegea. As the evening progressed, Philip was seated in the theatre alongside his high-ranking officials and generals. Among the attendees was Pausanias, a disgruntled Macedonian noble and bodyguard who had previously been involved in a personal dispute with the king. Taking advantage of the crowded and chaotic atmosphere, Pausanias approached Philip and stabbed him with a dagger, effectively ending his life. The motivations behind Pausanias' act are unclear. Some accounts suggest that he harbored personal grievances against Philip, who allegedly failed to protect him from an assault and then ignored his pleas for justice. He was close to Philip at one time, possibly as a lover, certainly as a close advisor. Other suggestions propose the involvement of political factions or rival claimants to the throne as potential factors, including his son Alexander, who had started to develop an adversarial relationship with his father. Nonetheless, the precise details and motives behind Philip's assassination have not been definitively established. Upon the death of his father, Alexander quickly took power, and even at the age of only 20, showed leadership qualities and quickly established his claim as head of the Macedonian state. Alexander was shrewd in the use of the power, building on the legacy of his father's reign and expanding it rather than creating upheaval and divisions. Using the foundations Philip established, he went on to conquer and expand Macedonian territory and influence to a level unseen at that time. Overall, Philip's legacy can be appreciated in terms of the military reforms that revolutionized the Macedonian army, transforming it into an almost unstoppable force. His introduction of the phalanx with the sarissa, combined arms tactics, focus on siege warfare, and strategic brilliance laid the foundations for the subsequent conquests of Alexander the Great. Philip's military legacy continues to be recognized as a crucial factor in the rise of Macedonian power and the subsequent Hellenistic era.